and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about my top 15 TV shows I have watched in 2022. So I have made a list because I've watched a lot of TV shows this year because I love TV shows. So I'm just going to kind of go through them. I'm obviously going to start with number 15, which is the one I preferred the least, to number 1, which is the one I love the most. And if you've not seen number 1, you need to see number 1 because it's the best TV show I've probably ever watched, ever. Some of these are kind of going to be controversial because they're quite like low down on the list when they're like quite good, but then other ones you're going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so the one that is at the bottom of my list, but it did still make the list, is The Summer I Turned Pretty. So it was good, and I feel like I've really got to stress that it is good. It's fantastic. I know a lot of people loved it. I loved it. It is by the same author that did To All the Boys I Loved Before. This one was on Amazon Prime rather than Netflix, and I definitely think that kind of had an impact on it. So there was a lot of Taylor Swift songs in this, which I love, don't get me wrong, and this Love Taylor's version actually came out early because of this, which I was absolutely obsessed with. I loved it. My issue was the way they kind of did the music. It didn't feel very natural, whereas with the Netflix, with them, especially the first film with To All the Boys I Loved Before, it was very natural. All the music kind of fit, but they kind of like, it just didn't really work. It just felt like they were trying to put too many songs in my personal opinion. I also didn't finish it. Now you might be thinking, how is this even make your list if you didn't finish it? Now, I want to stress that it's good. I was absolutely obsessed with all the actors and everything. They were absolutely amazing. The girl who played Belly was so good, and like I did really like it. But you know when you get that feeling that like, oh, something really sad or really like bad's gonna happen? That is pretty much kind of the feeling I got throughout. So kind of spoilers a little bit for this one. Just skip over if you want to like skip it. Basically there's gonna be a sad bit, and I got a very strong feeling that a character was going to die in it, and I was like, I don't want to watch this because it'll make me sad. So I personally didn't finish it, but I did watch like the majority of the TV show, but I just didn't want to get to a bit where a character dies. I don't think I ever actually googled if they did die, but I was just so convinced they were going to. I was like, nope, goodbye. That was the end of the TV show for me. But I did really like it other than that, other than like the music being a bit like forced and like the sadness element. Everything other than that, it was really, really good. Number 14. So I actually finished this one last night, and it is the season 3 of Emily in Paris. Now, season 1 of Emily in Paris was amazing. I know everyone's gonna be like, it was so bad. And don't get me wrong, it was bad. But it was so bad it was good. I absolutely love Lily Collins. I think she's absolutely fantastic. And the guy who plays Gabrielle, obsessed. I love them so much. This series, no. It felt very rushed, especially towards the end. So spoilers for the ending of season 3 of Emily in Paris. Basically, Camille ends up telling like she told Gabrielle that she's pregnant, and then Gabrielle tells Emily after like the whole marriage kind of. Basically, Gabrielle and Camille get married. As you can see, it's very confusing. Gabrielle and Camille are about to get married at their engagement party. And then Camille's like, oh, actually, I don't want to get married because you're still in love with Emily. And then Emily and Alfie break up because Alfie's like, oh, she's still in love with Gabrielle. It was just very messy. It just felt very rushed, and it felt like there was no real, like, will they, won't they with Gabrielle and Emily this season as much until like this final little bit, and it just felt very, very rushed. So I didn't really like that. I also felt Camille didn't get enough of the story like about her, because she kind of like disappears off to Greece. Basically Camille meets a girl and they kind of like have a serious connection, but like then she kind of disappears. Number 13. So this is one that got cancelled. It was on Netflix and it is called The Midnight Club. So this made like the news because basically there was the most jump scares ever in a TV show in this one episode. I don't think that was necessary. I think they pretty much did it for the title of having the most jump scares in a TV show, but it was very much not necessary. I'm pretty sure it's by Mike Flanagan, the same guy who did Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, and Midnight Mass. But yeah, it was good. I really liked the story, but it felt like at the end, like they kind of did like a big reveal, like nothing really happened in it. And at the end they did like, oh, something's gonna happen, and then it ended, and then it got cancelled. But what I really, really did enjoy about this is that even though it got cancelled, and the guy said it was very disappointed that it got cancelled because it is, they actually did like a Tumblr post basically saying what was going to happen in season 2, and I really like that they actually planned out what was going to happen in season 2. So Netflix also did this TV show a while ago called The Society, and that was so good. It had such like a dark kind of premise that basically all these children went missing, and the like It was really good. If you've not seen it, like, you need to watch it. It's really, really good. But then they cancelled it after one season, and it felt like they kind of cancelled it because they had no idea where it was going to go, because I'm pretty sure it was very popular. Like, it was very popular on Twitter. So yeah, I was still mad at Netflix for cancelling that. But The Midnight Club, it did have good elements. There were like scary elements. It definitely wasn't as good as the other ones, you know, Midnight Mass, Haunting of Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House, but it was still really good, and all the actors in it were absolutely amazing. I loved them all. Again, it was quite like sad, but I feel like that's kind of like a running theme throughout this guy's work. Like, a lot of his stuff is just very, very sad, but it was a good watch. But be warned, there's a lot of like discussions about cancer in it, because basically there's these kids who have cancer and then they go to this like kind of like hospice kind of place, and this girl goes there because she's heard that people have gone there and have been healed from stuff that they can't really be healed from, and then there's kind of like spooky stuff. It's good, but yeah, it could have been better. I think they could have been a bit scarier. But I do think at parts it was quite scary. But yeah, I think the jump scares were very forced, especially in that first episode. It was very much like they were doing jump scares for the sake of doing jump scares, and I really don't like that. Like, I love horror, I absolutely love horror films, but I think jump scares should be used carefully. I don't think it's necessary to be just like jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, which is literally what happened in this episode. That's not entertaining, that's not a horror, it's kind of like a weak kind of horror. So that's kind of my opinion on that, and that is why it's quite far down on the list. But again, I do want to stress how much I really liked that even though they cancelled it, they kind of did like a whole like post about what they were going to do, because it shows they planned it out, and it all made sense in the end. Number 12. So number 12 is Never Have I Ever. So the first season of Never Have I Ever I absolutely loved. I loved the discussion on grief on it, was like really, really good, and there was also like a love triangle, which I love. I love any kind of like trashy TV show, if you can probably tell by now. But this season, no, I think it was quite like disappointing. One of the characters got done so dirty, and yeah, it was just, again, it felt like it was all kind of leading up to the last like minute, and then the minute happens and then the TV show ends, and it's like, oh. Thankfully there is another season, so there is the 4th and final season, and I do quite like it when Netflix says, oh, we're gonna stop it here, rather than having a TV show that ends like after 10 seasons and it just gets worse and worse. That's what I like so much about The Good Place, is that they planned an ending, and I love it when they plan an ending so we don't end up with like a cliffhanger and then it get cancelled. The Santa Clarita Diet, that is like one of my favourite TV shows ever, and they cancelled it. I'm still very annoyed. But yeah, it's just quite far down because I didn't prefer it to the other seasons. I did still like it. I think Davy is the most chaotic TV show character ever. I really like it, but I just don't think it was as good as the others. Number 11, One of Us is Lying. So this is season 2 of One of Us is Lying. Was it as good as the first season? Probably not. I did still like the reveal. I did still think the reveal was quite good. I still like all the characters. I all think they're quite chaotic, which I do really enjoy. But I definitely don't think it was as good as the first season. It was very much giving like a Pretty Little Liars. Like, basically there was a guy who was texting them, or a guy or a girl, who was texting them like, Simon says do this, and if they didn't do this, like, something would happen. So it was quite good, but it very much felt like kind of like a wannabe Pretty Little Liars. But again, all the actors were really good in it. I was absolutely obsessed. I feel like that's kind of like a recurring theme with all of this. Like, maybe the stories have been a bit weak, but the actors have all been really, really good. 10 is Welcome to Eden. So this is one that my dad actually encouraged me to watch, and I'm glad I did. It was actually really, really good. Basically, there's these people and they're like influencers, and they get invited to this island to try out this drink, and then, oh no, they can't leave this island because the boats have been cancelled, and then they kind of go to this like place where like it's kind of like, it's a cult basically. It's kind of like a cult, and they go to this place and they're like, oh, blah blah blah. It's good. It's very good. I do believe there was going to be a second season, which I'm glad, because like there was a few like unanswered questions, so I'm really glad about that, because I do kind of prefer it when there's like another season rather than just a limited series, because it gets sad when it's limited series because then it ends and you don't see the characters ever again, whereas I quite like to see the characters in this. So number 9 is Chucky. So I recently got Now TV because I found out on like a deal. You can always get like good deals on it, and this is how you watch Chucky in the UK. So I watched seasons 1 and 2. I liked both seasons, to be honest. Maybe prefer 1 overall, but to be honest, I did like number 2. It was very much It was horror, you know, it was the same kind of like horror comedy. I've not actually seen all the Chucky films, but I did get a Chucky like box set for my birthday, so I'm excited to watch all of them. But even if you've not seen the films, what's really good is that certain characters come back from the earlier films and they do flashbacks to those films, so you can kind of see who these characters are, which I think is really good. So I think you can watch the TV show even if you've not like seen the Chucky films before, which I really like. I just think it was really good. Chucky was fantastic. Jennifer Tilly was amazing as always. Yeah, I really liked it. Some very gruesome deaths in it, if that's what you like in your kind of TV shows, but obviously you can always turn away if that's not your thing. Number 8, so I do believe this is a limited series. This is Devil in Ohio. This one I really enjoyed, but it was one of those ones where I stopped watching for like a week and then started watching again. It wasn't one that I had to finish it all in one go. Like I wasn't like really like hooked, but it was hooked that I finished it and I did quite like it, and I did think like the ending was quite good as well. Yeah, I did really enjoy it. You know when you watch a TV show though and characters make stupid decisions and you're just like, I don't feel sorry for you, you made this very stupid decision, but I also did really like it. It's quite a good one. It's kind of like a cult one. I quite like a cult kind of horror. I think they're quite like good, they're quite like scary. So it was good. Like it wasn't like really like scary or like gruesome, but it was like, it was a good TV show to watch if you're kind of looking for kind of like a thriller kind of cult kind of thing to kind of watch. I did enjoy it. Number seven is one I saw advertised everywhere, but I didn't actually see anyone talk about it, and this one is on Disney Plus, and it's called The Wedding Season. So I downloaded this for the plane when I went on holiday, and I never actually watched it until I got home, and I'm glad I waited till I got home actually to watch it. So a really good part of this is that it's set in Manchester. So obviously if you know me, I live near Manchester, so I was kind of like, oh, that's Manchester. So that was quite cool to watch it. And they also went to Las Vegas in one episode, which I really liked because I saw the places where I had just visited, because I watched it literally just as I got back from Vegas. So it was quite like cool to watch that. It's kind of like, it's a comedy kind of like action, sort of like running away from like the police kind of like vibes. It's really good if you've not watched it. I very much was hooked, and there's bits that you kind of watch it and you're just like, oh, I'm hoping there's another season of this, but obviously I've not really seen people talk about this online. It wasn't like really big online, which I was disappointed about because it's so good. But I do hope they do another season, because guess what, it ended on a cliffhanger. I've not heard if they're going to do a second season, but fingers crossed, because it's so good. If you've not watched it, I definitely recommend it. It's funny, it's got action, it's got everything you kind of want. It's really good. Oh yeah, and the premise is kind of like, basically they go to like a few weddings, and basically he meets this girl, blah blah, and then he interrupts this girl's wedding, and then at the after party of the wedding reception, basically everyone on the groom's side of the family dies. Basically the whole like wedding party dies apart from the bride, and like the bride doesn't have like family there, so it's like, whoa, did she do it? And then obviously he interrupted the bride wedding, so then, oh, so good. Watch it. Number six. This is probably quite low down for some people, but I want to stress how much I did enjoy this, but like the ones above I enjoyed so much. Number 6 is Wednesday. Wednesday was absolutely amazing. Jenna is phenomenal. That dance scene, I've rewatched it so many times. It was one of those ones I was very much hooked on. I just thought it was good. It was creepy. So confession time, I've never actually seen The Addams Family, but I did still enjoy it, and I definitely want to watch The Addams Family now that I have seen this. And one thing I really liked is that, even though I've not seen The Addams Family, the girl who plays Wednesday, obviously she played her when she was a lot younger, is also in this TV show as a different character, which I think is really clever. I loved all the characters in this. They were absolutely amazing. Love the stories, love the costumes, to be honest, especially that dance dress. I really liked that. It was good. One of the special effects basically is a little bit weird. Basically there's like kind of like a monster in it, and I do think the monster doesn't look as scary as it should do, but other than that, absolutely fantastic. There is that one scene basically when you kind of like, things are like revealed. So good. So I absolutely love Wednesday. If you've not watched Wednesday, watch Wednesday. It's absolutely fantastic. Number 5, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Again, absolutely fantastic. I know this was quite controversial. I know some people really liked it, other people really didn't like it. I really liked that in like the trailers it was kind of like focusing on young Luke, and then obviously the TV show, if you've not seen it, it focuses on young Leia, and I really like that, and it kind of explains why like Leia trusts Obi-Wan so much. It's very much made for the fans, but I don't think it's bad if something was made for the fans. Like, I think sometimes people, especially with like things with a huge fan base, they kind of like get mad if something's made for the fans or if something isn't made for the fans. It's a confusing one. I don't know either. I think you can never satisfy some people, but I really liked it. Obviously it's all personal choice, but for me it was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was really good, and I just think Ewan McGregor was obviously absolutely amazing in it, so I would definitely recommend if you're a Star Wars fan. I think probably you need to have watched the Star Wars films to kind of like fully appreciate it, especially like the prequels and the originals. Maybe not the sequels. I don't think you necessarily need to have seen the sequels to like watch this, because obviously it's before then, but I definitely think the originals and the prequels are kind of like an essential watch before you watch Obi-Wan Kenobi to kind of fully appreciate it. Number 4. So number 4 is actually one I watched a little while ago, and it's on iPlayer in the UK, and it is the Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. So I'm pretty sure there's been other Pretty Little Liars like spin-off shows, and I never watched them. This one I decided to watch because I followed Bailey Madison already on Twitter, and I'd seen her like tweeting about it, and then I just saw it was like on BBC iPlayer, so I was like, oh, let's watch it. So good. It was a lot more horror than Pretty Little Liars, like definitely a lot more horror, a lot more kind of like, you know the doll episode of Pretty Little Liars, how that's like one of the best ones? It was more like that for like a whole series. It's very dark. Obviously there is some comedy moments, but it's definitely darker in my opinion than Pretty Little Liars, but there's a lot of references to horror films in it, and which is what I really liked. I love that the fact the dance teacher was called Madame Giry, like in Phantom of the Opera. Like there was just kind of like a lot of connections to horror films in there that I really liked, so that was really good for me because obviously I'm a big horror fan, and I really enjoyed it. I definitely think it wasn't like Pretty Little Liars, which I think was what made it so good. I think it was trying to be something different while also kind of having similar elements. It definitely was scary. I will admit it was scary. It was good. You kind of got an answer to who this person was basically at the end of like the series. It's not like one where you're like, who's they, but they are doing more series, so hopefully it will carry on being as good, because I definitely think Pretty Little Liars kind of went like that and then at the end like that, but I did still enjoy Pretty Little Liars, don't get me wrong. It's not something you have to watch Pretty Little Liars for, it's something you could watch like on its own. There are a couple of references to like older places, so they mentioned about Radley, which is obviously mentioned a lot in the Pretty Little Liars TV show, and they also mention Arya and Ezra, who are a character in the like Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, really liked it. Don't think you have to watch Pretty Little Liars to enjoy it, but it was very good and very horror, so I really liked that. Number 3, so we've got to our top 3. Number 3 is Stranger Things Season 4. To be honest, the reason it is number 3 is simply why it's so high up is pretty much that one scene. The running up that hill scene I think is one of the best scenes in TV this year, if not of all time, and I don't even think that's dramatic. I think it was so good. Sadie Sink in that. The music choice, everything about it was absolutely fantastic. I think I always like Stranger Things. I definitely think I didn't enjoy season 4 part 2 as much. I think the episodes were just getting a bit too long because they were basically like film long episodes. But other than that, I really liked it, especially that first part, and especially the running up that hill scene. Oh, it was so good. Genuinely shivers. Obviously you have to watch the other previous like Stranger Things seasons, but I do really like it, and I cannot wait to see the final season. Number 2. So number 2 is Only Murders in the Building Season 2. This is one I probably recommend watching the first season as well. It's absolutely fantastic. Selena Gomez is in it. It's amazing. You've got Martin Shaw and Steve Martin. They work just so well together as a team. I love it. To be honest, it maybe even has been as good, if not better, than the first season. And that's saying something, because the first season was so good. Like, it's something you watch and it's like, oh, this should not work. This most definitely should not work. This is not going to be good. And you watch it and you're like, oh, this is like really good. It's a comedy. It's like a murder mystery. It's exciting. I would definitely recommend it to pretty much anyone. I think it's really good. I think all the characters are amazing. Tina Fey's in it. You also get Paul Rudd at the end. There is going to be another season. So yeah, it's definitely one I recommend watching. And in the UK, it is on Disney+. Finally got to number 1. Number 1 is my favorite. It was my favorite TV show of this year. Maybe of all time. I think I definitely prefer like a comedy in terms of like watching it casually. This isn't one you can watch casually. I definitely say pay attention to this one, but it's good. So it is called Severance, directed by Ben Stiller. It has Adam Scott in it. It's amazing. Like, when I say it's amazing, it is on Apple TV, which I feel like that's why it's not like fully appreciated enough, because obviously like the majority of people have like Netflix, but it's wow. I think that's pretty much the only way I can kind of describe it. Basically, kind of the premise is that people are severed at work. So basically, when you go into work, you have this chip in your brain and you change into a different kind of person. So when you go down the lift, you change into this person for work, and then when you go back up in the lift, you change into a different person for your home and like personal life, and you don't remember either one. It's ominous, it's creepy, it looks visually, wow, like I'm not really like into my film and stuff, but I can recognize when something looks good, and this looks good. The scenes in this are amazing, the actors are phenomenal, the title sequence is so good. So you can definitely, like, it's so high quality. There is going to be another season as well, which I'm very excited about. You don't really know what's going on and things happen. The last episode, I genuinely never felt that tense ever in my life, and I have anxiety. That's how tense it was. Like, wow, I just remember watching. So originally my dad was like, oh, watch this, so we watched it, and we watched it separately, and then we started watching it together, and we were just like, yeah, this is good. It was kind of like a highlight of, like, I think it came out on like a Friday, and it was so good. I do quite like that about Apple TV, that like the episodes, when they come out weekly. I think it kind of helps it kind of separate a little bit, and you're less likely to see like spoilers. So like with Stranger Things, like you could see spoilers like straight away because like people watch it like all at once, whereas like some people like to take their time and watch things, which is what I tend to like to do, but sometimes you kind of have to binge watch because I don't want to like avoid Twitter. Like I do mute keywords, but obviously people do still like just tweet things, which is fine. Obviously, like you can't really avoid spoilers on the internet, which just sucks, but that is why I like weekly episodes, because you're less likely to get like a spoiler. But yeah, so good. If you've not seen it, watch it. That's pretty much, I'd say the Apple TV subscription is worth it just to watch Severance. Like, that's how good it is. There's also Ted Lasso on there, which is really good, but I don't think that came out this year. I think the first 2 seasons came out like previously, but that's really good as well. That's like a comedy. Ted Lasso, this is like a complete side point, it's completely different to Severance, but it's really good if you've not seen it. It is about like football and UK football, which is what I didn't realise. And if you know me, I'm not really a football fan, I don't really like care for football, but I still really liked it. The guy in it is, I thought was the guy from The Office. I thought it was Ed Helms. It's not Ed Helms, because I was telling my dad, this guy from The Office is in this TV show, and my dad watched it and he was like, well, where was he? And I was like, are you kidding? He was the main character. And he was like, no. So that's how I discovered they were different people, which is embarrassing. But yeah, Ted Lasso is good on there as well. I also watched it, but then I just never got around to finishing it. What did I watch? That was really good. I think it was called like Succession or Suspicion. Oh, it was called Suspicion. So that is one I was also like watching but didn't like finish. That's really good. My dad watches Slow Horses, and apparently that's really, really good. So I think I'm gonna watch that next. There's also Bad Sisters. I don't think we were gonna start watching it, but then we didn't. But apparently that's good as well. So I definitely think it's like worth it just to watch Severance. If you've not watched it, it's, yeah, I can't express my love for it enough. It's fantastic, so watch Severance. Hope you like this video of me kind of going over my favourite TV shows from this year. I've watched a few of them. Let me know what your like top 5 are, top 10, top 15 TV shows are, and let me know what your least favourite TV shows are, because I always think that's interesting as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. That would be super, super cool, and leave a comment. Yeah, have a great day, and again, thank you so much for watching.